Hi,
Hello,
I'm Braxton,
I'm Zach
and we are
from Old to New. Now today we're going to be talking about a not
Mo-
really old movie.
But it's kind of old. It'll be 20 years old next year.
Yes, and it's one of our personal favorites,
Spider-Man.
2020,
2002.
Yeah, 2000.
2002. This one stars Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst,
James
James Franco, and William Dafoe.
Yes. Now, this one actually holds a special place in my heart because not only is it one of the first movies I ever watched growing up, it solidified myself as a superhero fan and personally made Spider-Man my favorite superhero of all time.
Yes, this definitely has a lot of nostalgia for me and Zach, I'm sure. Um, I didn't get to see the first one in theater, but I did see Spider-Man 2 in theaters, which we'll talk about later.
Okay, and now we have some notes.
Let's get into the plot. So, Peter Parker is this normal, geeky kid who gets
Bitten by a radioactive spider on a school field trip.
and wakes up the next day and realizes that he has spider powers
Including shooting webs, climbing walls, spidey senses.
and super strength.
Yes. And during that time, we also get to more of his best friend and his family. His friend's Harry's father, who owns Oscorp, was while experimenting with a experimental
Chemical.
uh, gained caused severe psychosis and enhanced physical capabilities,
Turning him into the Green Goblin.
Yes. And after that, Peter he's trying to find some new way to use his powers to help himself out. So he tries to make some money in a wrestling match, which he sort of does. But but after the match, a criminal steals all the money and he lets him go to get back at the promoter for screwing him over.
Yeah.
However, what he doesn't know is that robber ends up shooting his uncle. Yes.
This whole trilogy revolves around choice, and everybody has a choice. Spider-Man makes choices, whether good or bad, and he had a choice to either stop that robber or let him go, and he chose to let him go, which resulted in his uncle's death.
And which put him on the path of wanting to prevent stuff like that happening again, thus becoming the superhero Spider-Man.
So let's talk about some good things about this movie.
Okay, yes. One thing we need to bring up is the nostalgia factor.
Yes, if you grew up in the 90s or early 2000s, this movie is definitely that early 2000s punch to it.
Yeah.
And, now you have Tom Holland, who's a great Spider-Man.
Yes, however, he is in my top 3 favorite Spider-Man.
Well, there's only 3, but you have Tom Holland now, but for us 90s and 2000s kids,
Tobey Maguire was our OG.
He's our Spider-Man.
Yes.
And he's watching these movies now, they're a little campy, but they're still good quality.
Yeah, they're good campy.
Yeah.
It's campy and it gives you a good bit of comic book campiness while also adding hard-hitting drama and action.
Yes. Everybody knows that now Green Goblin just looks like a Power Rangers villain. But I'm sure back in 2002, that was whoa, the Green Goblin's on the big screen.
Yes.
That's totally neat.
And one thing I loved about the movie was that it stuck very close to the comic book origin.
Yeah.
Lots of similar elements, in terms of you got bit by the spider, gained abilities. It also applied the wrestling match concept, which led to his uncle's death.
Yeah. Which it also kind of changes things a little bit because I think in the comics he builds his web shooters, and this one he has organic web shooters that come out of his arms.
I agree, and that was also a unique element I think that added because all the other Spider-Man in cartoons or other movies, he always the mechanical aspect of his suit, it showed he was evolving, but this one he gave him a physical ability to produce webs.
Yeah.
And okay. Also, I have to feel like, I mean, every time I watch Uncle Ben die, it always hurts me. But when I first saw this one hurt me the most because, like, we never expect it, and it's like, oh my God, Uncle Ben.
If you had not read the comics and really didn't know nothing about Spider-Man, and you were watching this for the first time, yeah, that would be kind of gut wrenching a little bit, especially when that last conversation before Peter goes to the wrestling match and Uncle Ben thinks he's dropping him off at the library,
Yeah.
and he's just like, basically like, leave me alone,
stop pretending you're my father,
and stuff like that, and then that's the last thing he ever says to him.
Yeah. That's gotta be gut punching to Peter.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Let's talk about Green Goblin a little bit. Now, I have to say, Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, amazing.
Great. I can't wait to see him in this new one.
Yes, me too. Now, here's some notes we made. Was Norman in control of his actions as the Green Goblin? Because what they discussed earlier in the film, they discussed that side effects of the serum that he experimented on himself was psychosis and insanity. Now, I believe my theory is that Norman, was originally thinking, like, man, I hate that these guys are screwing me over. Everything's going wrong for me. And Goblin was the, physical, acting out on it.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Because each one of the attacks was personal in terms of Norman. Like, first attack took out his competitors. Second attack took revenge on his stockholders and other board members for kicking him out.
And then once Spider-Man comes into the picture and Spider-Man starts interfering with a lot of the Goblin's plans, the Goblin decides, okay, I'm gonna attack Spider-Man. I'm gonna find out what hurts him the most, and I'm gonna attack his heart.
Yes, because that's the aspect of the Green Goblin. He's driven by revenge and getting what he wants.
Yeah.
So he has to push everything out of his way that gets in the way of him getting what he wants.
Yeah.
Also, I have to add. Okay, let's see. Now, okay, let's get back to Spider-Man a little. Now, once Spider-Man, goes on the path of this, he designs his own suit, and he goes on fighting crime, and I feel like, the Spider-Man suit, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man suit, is the most iconic, and I have to agree, the coolest Spider-Man suit of all of them.
And it's probably the comic accurate looking one.
Yeah, I feel like
to a certain extent.
Yes, but I have to ask that in each Spider-Man movie, the Sam Raimi one, his suit just gets torn to shreds.
Yeah,
how is this still usable? To me, I feel like at some point Peter needed to ask himself, do I need to upgrade to a stronger fabric? Or was it like this fabric and this suit design is so personal to him that he has to keep reusing it?
I don't know.
Now, let's see, where else we talk? Okay, going on, some other side point. Now, while all this is going on, Peter finds out that the love of his life is now dating his best friend, Harry Osborn, who is the son of Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin. And I feel like, that kind of brings into question, was Pete, I know Peter was not okay with that. Did Harry ever question, going out with MJ? Or was he,
I doubt it, to be honest. I doubt it. I mean,
I feel like a part of it would have been like, oh, man, I like her too, and I hate that I gotta do this to my best friend.
Because, I think he says at one point where he's like, well, you had your shot and you didn't take it, so I took it.
Yeah.
So, maybe Harry just decided to be a jerk.
Yeah. And after that, even during that time, Peter decides, now, he needs to make money, but because of his, part-time job as a superhero, it's hard for him to keep track of everything and getting late until he finds an opportunity that benefits both sides. He finds an ad in a newspaper for pictures of Spider-Man for money at the Daily Bugle.
So he sets up cameras and takes pictures of himself while fighting crime.
Basically, he's the first selfie taker.
Yeah.
He perfected the art of TikToking selfies. Because, geez.
Yeah, all the way back in 2002, which
Yes.
was nearly 20 years ago.
Yes. And okay, and now Peter, after his first battle with Green Goblin, Goblin decides he needs to find out who Spider-Man is and attack him and try to get him to prevent him. First by, convincing him to join their side, or going after everyone else he loves.
Yeah, so he tries to convince Spider-Man to, become a bad guy because he's saying everybody will hate you eventually, and so you might as well just become a bad guy. And he's like, why do you protect these people when they don't even like you? And he's just like, because it's the right thing to do.
I feel like that also that's also pointed out with the character J. Jonah Jameson, because no one hates Spider-Man more than him.
Yeah.
I feel like because of that kind of draws back to also comic book origin. I believe now this may only have been in one of the cartoon series or in the comic books. I believe J. Jonah Jameson's wife was attacked by a man in a mask, and that drew him to have a growing distrust of people who wear masks and don't show themselves, because he can't trust someone who he doesn't know.
Maybe.
And also, this film also built up a question of is Jameson a bad guy? Because when Green Goblin attacked the Daily Bugle, Jameson could have given up Peter Parker, but in that moment he's like, no, I don't know who this guy is. He just sends me the stuff in the mail.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'd seen this meme one time that had a picture of Heath Ledger's Joker, and it said, in their last moments, people show you who they really are. And then it showed J. Jonah Jameson being attacked by the Green Goblin, and he said, I don't know who he is. He sends his stuff in the mail. So there begs the question, is J. Jonah Jameson the real hero of the movie?
He could have given up Peter Parker immediately, which could have, do you think if Goblin had, found out, while Norm was Green Goblin, Jameson had told him, who's the photographer? His name's Peter Parker.
It would have been a really short movie.
But I feel like part of Norm would be Norman is, questioning, I can't do this to Peter. He's like a son to me. Because,
That goes back to that whole split personality kind of aspect of it, where he's got Norman Osborn, who's a caring and nice businessman
and
who
loves
Peter like a son, and then you get Green Goblin who hates Spider-Man, wants to destroy him and end Spider-Man. So he's got this inner conflict within himself. And so this whole, like I said in the beginning, this whole trilogy is about choice, and he gives Peter the choice whether to save people on this skylift or to save Mary Jane.
Yes.
And
in doing so, he that's a common thing. That's a common problem with superhero movies that a lot of them face. You're given this choice. Do I say it's like a trolley problem? Do I save one person who I know and truly care about, or do I save a group of people that I don't know, but they deserve to live as much as anyone?
Yeah.
And so and that's kind of what and kind of shows Spider-Man saying he's always trying to save as many people as he can. He ends up saving Buck, and that's also another thing. With the final bridge battle, it also showed something else. Goblin stated eventually these people are going to turn against you and hate you, and for a while they did, but in the end it showed all these people going after Green Goblin, distracting him to ensure that Spider-Man saved everybody.
And, yeah, it really shows how when you band together, you can conquer evil and all that kind of stuff, and it shows that there is still nice people, left in the world.
Yeah. And after saving all the people on the bridge, Goblin takes Peter to a cemetery or abandoned
Just kind of some abandoned building. You're never really, you don't really know what it is. It's just, this is where the final fight's going to take place.
In doing so, Peter overpowers the Green Goblin, who then reveals his identity as Norman Osborn.
And he's trying to convince him hey, I didn't do any of this. The Goblin did all of this.
Yeah. But in doing so, he's also that also kind of convinced me question whether or not Norman was in control, because was his hand was the Goblin just taking control of his limb while he was like talking with Peter, or was it like Goblin acting like Norman Osborn?
Could be, because he's like, don't let him take me again, and but he's also pushing the button that starts his glider, and you know, Spider-Man, he has the spider sense, so he senses the glider coming for him, and he flips over it, and it eventually, spoiler alert, kills the Green Goblin.
And who in his final words tells him, "Don't tell Harry." And so I feel like, and that also kind of like sets up the ending where like, you know, he takes Norman back to his apartment, but Harry finds Spider-Man with his father's dead body and blames him for his death.
Yeah.
Not knowing the truth. Now I feel like that kind of speaks to Peter's character, like, you know, he didn't want Harry to find out about his father, and like he wanted to leave Harry with a good memory of his father, but he knew it would mean like, you know, possibly destroying their friendship if Harry ever found out the truth.
Yeah.
And in the end, like MJ decides like, you know, maybe she does want to be with Peter Parker.
Yeah.
But Peter, like we said, in a choice, felt like, you know, after everything I went through with Green Goblin, I can't risk putting her in danger by being with her now.
So he has to, in a sense, let her go.
Yes, but
even though that's not what he wants.
Yes, he doesn't want to let her go, but he feels like he has to.
So that's it. That's Spider-Man.
Yes.
So overall, what would you give it?
I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
7 or an 8.
We hope you enjoyed this video, and hope to give you a little recap before Spider-Man No Way Home.
And we'll see you in the next one.
Have a nice day.
Bye.